Ripple XRP, we could possibly be having the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, hinting at the use of XRP and also XLM as well. Now, we do have an email that has come from Uphold, and apparently they have warned the XRP army, so we're going to be taking a look at that, and we're also going to be taking a look at what Brad Garlinghouse has said in regards to a potential IPO, and this is recent news. And now, of course, we will be looking at the price action for XRP coin today. All I ask from you are two things, which is to smash that like button and to subscribe to the channel as well. So first bit of news that we're going to dive into, and what it relates to is what the International Monetary Fund has posted. So on their website over here, you can see it was to do with the article that was published back in March of last year, and it was titled "The Trust, Bridges and Money Flows, a Digital Marketplace to Improve Cross-Border Payments." So you can see over here that the problem that they have identified is that cross-border payments are expensive, slow and opaque, and these problems reflect multiple frictions, many of which boil down to limited trust among counterparties, and trust plays a central role in exchanging credit-based money. And so we know that Ripple has the solutions to be able to be a bridge currency and also facilitate these cross-border payments, and they do have some sort of real-world use cases as well, and they're also going to be in other regions such as Asia and Africa. But let's take a look at this that we have seen from XRP Daily. It says over here that the winners are already chosen in regards to that article.
In March of 2023, there was a report by the IMF titled "Trust, Bridges and Money Flows, a Digital Marketplace to Improve Cross-Border Payments." And interestingly, on page 23, they mention two digital assets, and that's XRP and XLM.
The Bank for International Settlements publishes their money flower, and there is a small space in that money flower for those private cryptocurrencies. So I agree with you that the winners of this have already been chosen.
I believe so.
Right? And I think that you just named the two that are most likely that. And I think also Wall Street's totally adopted Bitcoin.
Now, if we actually take a look at the paper, I have downloaded it so we can see where they have mentioned Ripple and also Stellar. So it is on page 23, and you'll see over here, it's actually in regards to this paragraph of the extensions and further considerations, where they outline some sort of different other factors. You can see over here, like liquidity in the foreign exchange market is a key factor of success. So we've got the three models arise, such as Ripple's XRP and also the Stellar Foundation as well. And I believe that they have just highlighted this as examples, but in the video they've said over here, these are the indicators as to why they have been chosen. So maybe in the background, the International Monetary Fund have already come to their decisions, and perhaps one could argue that. However, I do think that they are still in the research stages of being able to having a look at all of these technologies and how well they are able to perform as well. But the fact that it is coming from the IMF, of course, is a very big thing to note. Now, we have this update from Uphold, and a few people have actually been quite concerned because they thought that it was directed only to the XRP community. But I just want to show you what Uphold have said, and it is nothing to actually be concerned about. It says over here that Uphold just sent an email communication painting XRP as a very risky investment. So what have they said? Well, they've said don't invest unless you're prepared to lose all the money you invest. This is a high risk investment and you should not be expected to be protected if something goes wrong. But it says over here that it is to do with the XRP Army Badge NFT, and so I think it is to do with the NFT rather than the XRP token in general. But even then, I still think that it is a pretty much standard email that Uphold would be sending out to all other tokens regardless. I don't think that it's actually intended towards just to the XRP army alone, and so it is nothing to be worried about in general. It's kind of like your standardized disclaimer that they would pretty much do to every and all other coins. But again, even if you do invest into high risk investments, we do know that often with high risk investments, yes, it can be volatile, but that is where you reap the most rewards, right? High risk, high rewards. But in terms of Uphold in general, I think a lot of people have not been happy with them, and with regards to the fact that they have been delisting certain digital assets that we have seen according to the Ontario Securities Commission, and that was in Canada. They delisted them, I think it was on the 15th or 16th of January. It just encourages more people to actually be moving your assets to cold storage only and don't keep them on the Uphold exchange, of course. So that's the email that I thought that I'd show you about, but I don't think it is anything to worry. So we do have Brad Garlinghouse that has now spoken about a potential IPO. I mean, don't get your hopes up as to seeing an IPO, for example, within this year. year, it might not happen, right? You know, we've still got 6 months left now in terms of that conclusion for the court case if it does drag out. But again, I do think that for the next 6 months after that, we might not see an IPO in the US, but we could potentially see it outside of the US. And let's take a look at what he has said regarding this.
As we started this conversation, I am very optimistic about the crypto market in 2024 because of those things around putting compliance first, making sure we focused on solving real problems for customers and not just the speculative cycle. I think will put the whole industry on a really good trajectory. So, you know, we have been cash flow positive the last couple of years.
And also, just one thing to mention over here is that when he says to solve real world problems for customers, that really does bring it into hindsight with the cross-border payment solutions that they're currently looking in terms of Africa when it comes to actually getting people access to being able to pay digitally as well.
You know, that has been a unique place in the market and allowed us to invest not only in the core of Ripple, but also in acquisitions. And even, you know, recently we've now repurchased over $1 billion of stock from our shareholders. That's quite frankly because it is not an immediate term priority to go public. You know, in the United States, trying to go public with a very hostile regulator that has to approve your S1, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me. You know, Coinbase obviously had their S1 approved, and now the SEC is suing them for doing things that was outlined in their S1. Now, that, as I mentioned, there's a hearing tomorrow in the U.S. about some of that, but I think it's indicative of why would we want to subject ourselves to an SEC that is openly hostile to this industry?
And I also think that that is a really important point that he has noted here. I mean, at the end of the day, Ripple can actually legally IPO whenever they want in the US. But of course, the IPO will most likely be approved after the rest of the case is settled and concluded. And so it wouldn't really make sense for them to actually conduct an IPO as of now if they know that the likelihood of them actually being approved is next to none and that they will actually be rejected. And so I do think that it is a wise move with regards to the fact that they are holding it off.
Aside at this point?
Yeah, I mean,
or are you looking elsewhere, outside the US for a listing?
I mean, yes to all of those. Okay. I don't think about an IPO as an exit. I think about an IPO as a step in the journey. But honestly, a lot of people go public because they need to raise capital.
Yeah.
Ripple's not really in a place where we need to raise capital. And so it is not a short-term priority. We're obviously keeping that option open, and we'll evaluate it, you know, as time continues. And we'll evaluate it again as we have new regulators sitting at the United States SEC.
And I guess some of it's market dependent as well. Last year was an interesting space, but in the tech world more broadly, there were a lot of secondaries, buybacks, but very few IPOs. The market wasn't obviously very great for them. So I guess it's also, you know, how the broader markets play out as well.
And I think when it comes to the IPOs as well, it is all about the timing of the market, right? I mean, we've had these approvals of the spot Bitcoin ETFs, and of course that is now done and finished with. I think the next event that we are having, the big one actually, is the Bitcoin halving. I think it is going to be roughly around about maybe 95 to 99 days currently. So that's going to be in April. And so again, with that, we could potentially see that bull cycle happening. And when it comes to the IPO, the timing is pretty much a significant factor because you will be able to leverage your gains from it.
Well, for sure, that's part of it, and not just the public markets, but also the crypto markets. Yeah. And you know, I think Coinbase's stock is in a much stronger position now than it was a year ago, but obviously well off its highs from 3 years ago when it went public. So it's just not a huge priority. We have a lot of capital, very strong balance sheet. We can continue to play offense through an acquisition point of view, invest in the business. You know, as we started this conversation, I'm very optimistic about the crypto market in 2024.
And so from this take, you can see Brad Garlinghouse reasons. It's pretty good stuff that we've seen. And again, pretty good to see the optimism when it comes to the markets for 2024. I mean, it's also a big year as well, right? Because we have the US elections. And so there is going to be a lot of things coming out from that. Now let's take a look at the price action for XRP coin today. As you can see, we are currently trading at 0.5713. We are down by 0.4% on the 1-day chart. For the volume, we are down by 5.56%. And we're trading at $885.3 million. So as you can see over here, in the early hours of the morning, we were pretty much trading at 0.574. We've only come down a little bit, ever so slightly, nothing really major. On the 7-day chart, we are up by 1.24%. And you can see over here what is very key. We are pretty much consolidating right now. I mean, if we have a look at this little spike over here, we did go to 0.5908, which is pretty much only a 2-cent move up from here. And the volume was at 756 million. So the volume was a little bit lower. We've come down ever so slightly, not too bad. Again, I want to see XRP coin get back up to that 60-cent range, because we were doing pretty well at that point and we were able to hold it comfortably. It's just ever since that we have taken that massive deep dive over here that we have now come a bit lower, and we're just under that 60-cent price target by 3 cents. So it really shouldn't be that hard to get back up to 60 cents. Again, we are pretty much a slow mover in terms of the price action, but we will be monitoring it as the weeks go along. Guys, if you want daily Ripple XRP coin news, subscribe to the channel and like the video as well.